I couldn't feel my hands on the steering wheel anymore. The air conditioning had died 3 hours ago, and the temperature inside my sedan had climbed to what felt like 50 degrees Celsius. My shirt was soaked through. I could taste salt on my lips. The windows were cracked just enough to let in a whisper of air, but not enough to alert anyone in the car park that someone was living inside. Living. That's a generous word for what I was doing. My name is Thomas Brennan. I'm 68 years old, and 5 days ago, I was kicked out of my own home by my daughter-in-law over a lie so vicious, so calculated, that even now I can barely comprehend it. Let me go back to the beginning. I'd lived in that house in Burwood, Sydney, for 42 years. My wife Rachel and I bought it in 1982, back when you could still afford a 3-bedroom weatherboard on a nurse's salary and a carpenter's wage. We raised our son Andrew there. Rachel planted the rose garden out front. I built the deck out back with my own hands. Every nail, every board, every memory. Rachel died 4 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. 6 weeks from diagnosis to gone. Andrew took it hard. We both did. He'd always been close to his mother. Maybe too close. She was the buffer between us. The translator, when we couldn't understand each other. After she died, the house felt enormous and empty. Andrew suggested I come live with him and his wife, Natasha. They just bought a place in Strathfield, he said. Plenty of room. They wanted to help, and honestly, I was lonely enough to say yes. That was my first mistake. Natasha Cooper. I should have seen it coming. She was 33 when she married Andrew, 12 years younger than him. She worked in property staging, which apparently meant taking empty houses and filling them with rented furniture to make them look desirable. Everything about her was curated, filtered, perfect for Instagram. She had 17,000 followers who watched her style homes and drink green smoothies and talk about manifesting abundance. At first, she was lovely to me, called me Tom, asked about my day, made sure I had my tea how I liked it. But there were small things. The way she'd rearrange the cushions after I sat on the couch, how she'd wipe down the kitchen counter immediately after I made toast, as if I'd contaminated it. The tight smile when I tried to help with my 11-year-old granddaughter, Lily. Lily. God, Lily. She looked just like Rachel. Same dark curls, same gap between her front teeth, same way of tilting her head when she was thinking. She'd come into my room after school and we'd do her homework together. I'd taught mathematics for 35 years before I retired. Numbers made sense to me in a way people never quite did. Lily got that from me. Natasha didn't like it. She'd appear in the doorway and say Lily needed to be more independent, that I was doing too much for her, that Lily had tutoring anyway, professional tutoring, and my methods were outdated. Andrew never said anything, just looked at his phone. 3 months ago, everything changed. It was a Saturday in January. Summer in Sydney. The kind of heat that makes the air shimmer. Lily was at a friend's birthday party. Andrew was at work. He was always at work. Natasha was supposed to be at a photo shoot for some furniture brand, but she came home early. I was in the kitchen making a sandwich when she walked in with her phone out, filming. "What did you do to her?" she said. I looked up, confused. "What? Lily. What did you do to Lily?" My stomach dropped. "Nothing. She's at a party." "What are you talking about?" She turned her phone around. On the screen was a photo of Lily with a bruise on her upper arm, dark purple and ugly. The caption read, "When your child comes home injured and won't tell you who hurt her. Heartbroken." "That's not," I started. "I didn't. She told me you grabbed her, that you lost your temper when she got a maths problem wrong." The sandwich ingredients slipped from my hands. Tomato hit the floor. "That's not true. Natasha, that's not true. I would never." "She's 11 years old, Tom. She wouldn't lie about something like this. Then someone else heard her. Or she fell. I haven't seen her since Thursday. I was at my doctor's appointment yesterday. I wasn't even here. Natasha's eyes were cold. Dr. Patterson, right? The one in Ashfield. What time was your appointment? 2 o'clock. I was there for nearly 2 hours. There was a wait. She smiled. It wasn't kind. Lily got home from school at 3:30. You were back by 4. The walls felt like they were closing in. I didn't touch her. I've already called docs. Child protection. They're sending someone tomorrow to do a welfare check. And I think it's best if you're not here when they arrive. This is insane. Let me talk to Lily. Absolutely not. You're not going near my daughter. She's my granddaughter, and you're a danger to her. Andrew came home an hour later. I heard Natasha talking to him in the bedroom, her voice rising and falling. When he came out, he wouldn't look at me. Dad, he said quietly, maybe you should stay somewhere else for a few days, just until this gets sorted out. You believe her? My voice cracked. You believe I would hurt Lily? I don't know what to believe. But Lily has a bruise, and Natasha says, Natasha is lying. His face hardened. He looked so much like his mother in that moment, but wrong, like a photocopy that came out too dark. Don't talk about my wife like that. Andrew, please. You know me. I would never. I need you to leave, Dad. Now, I packed one bag, grabbed my wallet, my phone charger, my medications. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely zip the suitcase. When I walked past the living room, Natasha was on her phone, probably updating her followers. She didn't look up. Andrew drove me to a motel on Parramatta Road. Didn't say a word the whole way. Just pulled up to the curb and waited for me to get out. Andrew? I said. I'll call you, he said. Which meant he wouldn't. The motel was $95 a night. I had about $800 in my account until pension day. I did the math. 8 nights, maybe 9 if I didn't eat much. That was 5 days ago. The first night, I couldn't sleep, just stared at the water-stained ceiling and tried to understand what had happened. Natasha had been planning this. The photo was taken at exactly the right angle, showed exactly enough damage to be concerning but not enough to be investigated too closely. She'd posted it publicly before even talking to me, creating a narrative. But why? I didn't figure it out until day 3. I'd gone back to the house when I knew they'd be out, just to get more clothes, some of my books. But when I pulled up, there was a locksmith van in the driveway. Through the window, I could see Natasha directing workers as they moved furniture around. My furniture. From my house in Burwood. I sat in the car, watching. 2 men carried out Rachel's grandmother's dresser, the one she'd inherited, the one I'd promised to keep in the family. They loaded it into Natasha's staging truck. She was clearing out my house, staging it, selling it. I drove to Burwood. The for sale sign was already up. Natasha Cooper. Property staging in gold letters at the bottom. Open house scheduled for Saturday. I called Andrew. He didn't answer. I called 12 times. On the 13th, he picked up. What? His voice was sharp. She's selling my house. Silence. Andrew, did you know about this? You signed the papers, Dad. What papers? The power of attorney. Last year. You said you wanted me to handle things if anything happened. The room spun. I had signed something last year, when I was still grieving Rachel, still floating through days like I was underwater. Andrew had said it was just in case, just to make things easier. I'd trusted him. That was for medical decisions. Not to sell my house. The document was comprehensive. Natasha's lawyer looked at it. Natasha's lawyer. Dad, you're not well. You haven't been well since Mum died. This incident with Lily just proves you need more support than we can give. The money from the house will go into a managed fund for your care. I don't need care. I need my home. I have to go. The doc's investigator is here. He hung up. I sat in the motel room and tried to breathe. The walls were closing in. The air conditioning was broken, had been since I checked in. The temperature outside was 42 degrees. Inside felt hotter. I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? My son used a power of attorney I legally signed. My daughter-in-law claimed I hurt my granddaughter. I had no proof of anything except my own word. And who listens to a confused old man? That night, I slept in my car. Couldn't afford another motel night. I parked in a 2-4-hour shopping center lot in Flemington, cracked the windows, tried to get comfortable across the front seats. Every car that drove past made me jump. I kept thinking someone would call the police. Report a vagrant. By morning, I was drenched in sweat. My back screamed. My hands were swollen from the heat. I needed help. There was a community center near Strathfield where Rachel used to volunteer. I drove there, parked, walked in like I belonged. There was a food bank, a shower block, a notice board covered in services for people in crisis. An older Chinese woman was arranging donated clothes. She looked up, saw my face, and immediately sat me down. "You okay, love?" Her accent was thick, her concern genuine. I wasn't okay. But I nodded. Her name was Jennifer Wong. She'd been running the community center's outreach program for 20 years. She took one look at me, sweating and probably smelling ripe, and directed me to the showers, then brought me tea and rice crackers. "You're not the first," she said gently. "Won't be the last." Family trouble? I told her everything. The words just came out. She listened without interrupting, without judgment. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then, she said, "In my culture, family is everything, but you cannot let them destroy you. You understand?" I nodded. "There's a lawyer who volunteers here on Thursdays. Sarah Nguyen. She does elder law. You talk to her." Sarah Nguyen was 45, sharp-eyed, and took exactly 10 minutes to tell me I had a case. The power of attorney document. "Do you have a copy?" "I didn't. Doesn't matter. We'll subpoena it. If it wasn't specifically written to give your son power over property sales, he's committed fraud. And your daughter-in-law's abuse allegation. Has there been an investigation?" "I don't know. We'll find out. I'm going to need you to write down everything. Every conversation, every date, every detail you can remember." I spent the next week writing. I filled 40 pages. Dates, times, conversations, the sequence of events. Sarah read it all, made notes, asked questions. Meanwhile, I started volunteering at the community center. Just to have something to do, somewhere to be. They had a homework help program for kids, mostly from immigrant families whose parents were working multiple jobs. Math was still math. I could still teach. One of the regular volunteers was a retired doctor named Philip Matheson. He saw me sketching out a geometry problem for a kid and stopped. "You draw?" he asked. "Not really. Just diagrams." "You're quite good. Ever done medical illustration?" I hadn't, but Philip explained there was a shortage of good medical illustrators, people who could accurately draw anatomy for teaching purposes. He needed someone to help with a project for Western Sydney University, creating educational materials for nursing students. "I can't pay much," he said. "But it's something." It was more than something. It was a purpose. I spent my days at the community center, my evenings learning medical illustration from YouTube videos and library books. Philip would bring me reference materials, give me feedback. My first attempts were clumsy, but I improved. After 6 weeks, I completed my first paid commission, a series of diagrams showing proper wound care techniques. The payment was $800. It felt like a fortune. I rented a small studio apartment in Ashfield. One room, kitchenette, shared bathroom down the hall. But it was mine. Andrew called once during this time, asked if I was okay where I was staying. His voice was strained. Guilty, maybe. I'm fine, I said. The doc's investigation was closed. They said there was no evidence of abuse. Of course there wasn't. Because it never happened. Lily asks about you, he said quietly. My heart clenched. Can I see her? Pause. Natasha thinks it's better if we wait. How long? I don't know, Dad. She's still upset. Natasha was upset, not Lily. Andrew, I said, did you ever ask Lily what actually happened to her arm? Longer pause. She said she fell off her bike. Her bike. Yeah. So Natasha lied. Dad, your wife lied about me abusing my granddaughter. Used it to kick me out so she could sell my house. And you're going along with it. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. I hung up. 3 months after I was kicked out, Sarah called me into her office. I have news, she said. Some good, some complicated. The good, the power of attorney document Andrew had used, was indeed limited to medical and financial management decisions in case of incapacity. It explicitly did not grant power to sell property without my direct consent. The sale of my house was fraudulent. The complicated, Natasha had already sold the house. The proceeds, $1.4 million, had gone into an account in Andrew's name, then been transferred to a company registered to Natasha. But there's more, Sarah said. I did some digging into Natasha's business, multiple complaints with fair trading. She's been running a scheme where she convinces elderly clients to let her stage their homes, then talks them into selling to buyers she brings in at below market value. She gets kickbacks from the buyers. How many people? At least 7 in the past 3 years. Total value close to $6 million. I felt sick. She's been doing this to other people? Yes. And when I filed our complaint, it triggered an investigation. The fraud squad is involved now. 2 weeks later, Natasha Cooper was arrested. I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. The news covered it. Property stager, accused of elder fraud scheme. Natasha's perfect Instagram face next to her mugshot. The comments were vicious. Her followers turned on her instantly. Andrew called me. He was crying. I didn't know, he kept saying. Dad, I swear I didn't know. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was just weak, too in love or too scared to see what his wife was. But he'd chosen her over me. He'd let me be called an abuser. He'd let me be thrown out with nowhere to go. I believe you, I said, because he was still my son. But I can't forgive you yet. The legal process took 8 months. Natasha was charged with 14 counts of fraud. The prosecution built a case that was airtight. She targeted vulnerable elderly people, gained their trust, manipulated legal documents, pocketed millions. In December, she was sentenced to 12 years in prison, with a non-parole period of 7 years. My house was returned to me, minus agent's fees and legal costs. I sold it properly, on my own terms. Used the money to buy a small apartment in Newtown and invest the rest. I was comfortable. Finally, the medical illustration work grew. I was getting regular commissions from 3 universities and 2 hospitals. It wasn't just about the money. It was about being useful, being valued for my skills. But there was still a lily-shaped hole in my life. I'd written her letters, sent them to Andrew's address. Then one day, Jennifer from the community center called me. Someone here to see you, she said. It was Lily. She was 12 now, taller, but still with Rachel's curls. Andrew stood behind her, looking older than his 47 years. She wanted to come, Andrew said. I should have brought her sooner. Lily ran to me, hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. She smelled like strawberry shampoo in summer. I'm sorry, Granddad, she whispered. I'm sorry I didn't tell them the truth about my arm. I was scared of Mum. She said if I told, you'd be sent away anyway because you were too old to take care of me properly. It's not your fault, sweetheart. None of this was ever your fault. We sat in the community center garden. Lily told me about school, about her friends, about how she wanted to study medicine like Grandma Rachel. Andrew sat quietly, letting us talk. When it was time to go, Lily asked if she could come back next week. Anytime, I said. Every week, if you want. Andrew looked at me. Dad, I'm getting divorced. It's been in process for months. I should have done it the day you told me she was lying. Why didn't you? I was scared. Of being alone. Of admitting I'd made such a terrible mistake. Of losing Lily if Natasha fought for custody. He wiped his eyes. But you nearly died out there. You slept in your car. And I did that to you because I was too weak to stand up to her. You're standing up now. It's too late. It's not too late, I said. But it's going to take time. That was 8 months ago. Now, Lily comes to my apartment every Wednesday after school. We do her homework. I teach her to draw anatomical diagrams. We talk about Rachel. Andrew is in therapy, dealing with what he calls his learned helplessness. We have dinner once a month, the three of us. It's awkward sometimes, but we're trying. Last week, I got an invitation. Western Sydney University was hosting a gala to honor community volunteers. Dr. Matheson had nominated me for an award, Outstanding Contribution to Healthcare Education. I almost didn't go, but Lily said she wanted to see me get recognized. The gala was at a hotel in Parramatta. 200 people. Speeches. A 3-course dinner. When they called my name and I walked to the podium, I saw Lily in the front row with Andrew, both of them clapping. I gave my speech. Talked about second chances. About how losing everything had forced me to discover I still had something to give. About the importance of community support for people in crisis. When I came down from the stage, there was a woman waiting. Mid-40s. Indigenous Australian. Wearing a detective's badge. Mr. Brennan? Detective Emma Rodriguez. I worked on the Natasha Cooper case. Oh. Hello. I wanted to thank you. Your case helped us identify 12 other victims. Because you came forward, we were able to get justice for people who thought they had no recourse. I didn't do much. Sarah Nguyen did all the legal work. You survived, and you didn't let it destroy you. That's everything. After she left, I sat down next to Lily. Are you happy now? Granddad? She asked. Was I? I'd lost my wife, my home, nearly my family. I'd been betrayed by people I trusted. I'd slept in a car, been accused of horrible things, felt more alone than I thought possible. But I'd also found a new purpose, made new friends, learned new skills, helped other people avoid what happened to me. And I'd gotten my granddaughter back. Yeah, I said, I think I am. Andrew reached over and squeezed my shoulder. It was the first time he'd touched me in over a year. I didn't pull away. Later that night, back in my apartment, I thought about what I'd learned. About how family can be both your greatest strength and your greatest vulnerability. About how love, when it's manipulated, can be turned into a weapon. About how the people who are supposed to protect you can be the ones who hurt you most. But I also learned this. It's never too late to start over. Age doesn't make you disposable. Your experience has value. Protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. And forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean allowing abuse to continue. It doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. Forgiveness, real forgiveness, means acknowledging the harm while choosing not to let it define the rest of your life. Natasha will serve her time. Maybe she'll come out changed. Maybe she won't. That's not my concern anymore. Andrew will continue his therapy, continue trying to rebuild what he broke. Whether we get back to something like a father-son relationship, I don't know, but we're trying. And that's more than we had. Lily will grow up knowing that her grandfather fought for the truth, even when it was hard. That's the legacy I can give her. If you're reading this, if you're going through something similar, here's what I want you to know. Document everything. Dates, times, conversations, witnesses. Keep records. Get legal advice early. There are services that help, even if you can't afford much. Don't isolate yourself. Find community, whether it's a center like Jennifer's, a support group, even an online forum. Isolation makes you vulnerable. Your skills still matter. You still have something to contribute. Find ways to use your experience. Set boundaries. Forgiveness is possible, but it doesn't mean letting toxic people back into your life without consequences. And finally, protect your assets. I know it feels mercenary to think about wills and powers of attorney and legal documents when you're talking about family, but love and legal protection aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, clear legal boundaries can prevent the kind of manipulation that destroys families. I'm 69 now. I have a career I never expected. A relationship with my granddaughter that gets stronger every week, and a son who's learning to be honest about his failures. I have my own space, my independence, my dignity. It's not the life I planned, but it's mine, and that's enough.